The Emperor is awakening. By now, you've probably seen the latest CGI trailer from Games Workshop. In that, we got to see a few shots of the Emperor, and the community has exploded in theories, discussions about the Emperor and his appearance. In this video, I want to take it a step further and discuss some of those theories with actual evidence from some of the latest books that we've got about the Emperor being more active in the current storyline and potentially where this could lead with future big narrative points. So strap yourself in and let's get waffling. So I think it's best to start with the actual trailer itself, and as you can see with the images in the background, we get to see for the first time the Emperor on the Golden Throne in an animation, and it is what you expect him to be. This rotten husk of this once powerful warlord of the galaxy slowly fading away, being absolutely ripped apart by the warp powers that are around him. It's kind of a symbolic image of the Imperium itself over the last 10,000 years, slowly fading, slowly dying, but that fire still burning bright, trying to guide humanity to fight onwards. I think most of us can actually agree this is how we picture the Empire, the 10,000 years of agony strapped to the Golden Throne, keeping the powers of the Chaos Gods back. But something does happen towards the end of this trailer. The eye that we saw at the beginning of the Emperor that looked dead, lifeless, all of a sudden has life. It looks like it is healed and he's looking directly into our souls. Is this now an attempt by Games Workshop to say the Emperor is still there? The Emperor may be coming back. The Emperor may be healing on the Golden Throne. And it gets even more exciting because the image in the background right now shows the Golden Throne during that animation empty of the Emperor. So are they doing this for reasons? As someone stated to me, there is no mistakes in terms of animations. Everything is there for a reason. The way something looks, the way something behaves, the way something moves, the animators, the artists, the art team, the sketches, everyone, the sound design, everyone a part of this does this for a reason. So why did they put a couple of seconds of the Golden Throne empty of the Emperor of Mankind? Now, over the past couple of years, there has been a bunch of brand new Warhammer books that have been indicating big things are going to be happening with the Emperor of Mankind, the Golden Throne, and narrative around his awakening. Now, before I jump into that, I just want to say this part of the video may and will contain spoilers of the following books: the Carrion Throne, the Eidenhorn, Ravna, Beckwin series, the Siege of Terror, and the Dark Imperium series, more or less Godblight, the last book of that series. So if you haven't read any of them and you don't want to be spoiled, it's probably best to leave the video right now. So the first big plot point I want to go down is the Golden Throne is failing. We don't have that long. If I'm not mistaken, it's around 40 to 80 years before the Golden Throne fails. This was brought up in the Carrion Throne Inquisitor series by Chris Ray. It's a 3-part book series. There's a lot of more stuff that happens in this. Emperor being clone shenanigans, massive lore implications. But the big thing from this is that the Golden Throne is failing and no one knows about it, although people who did know about it can't inform anyone anymore for certain reasons. I'll let you read the book and let you find out if you haven't found out, but that is a big thing. The Golden Throne is now failing. Now, if we jump forward, or should I say if we jump backwards 10,000 years, right before the Emperor was put on the Golden Throne, we have the Siege of Terror series and the End of the Death. And one of the big things that happened in the End of the Death is that the Emperor more or less took out his empathy, put it into some type of magical sphere, and shot it off into the warp. Malkador the Sigillite actually referred to this as the so-called Star Child, and there's a lot of theories, there's a lot of speculation that if that is recovered, that potentially could be a shard of the Emperor they can force back into him, and maybe that could heal the Emperor to bring him back off the Golden Throne. That goes deep down into the old school lore of Star Child and where we can go from there. Now let's jump back 10,000 years into the future with the Emperor, and let's talk about the greatest story that's ever been written for me, and that is, of course, the Eisenhorn series, the Eisenhorn Ravana Beckwin series, and the big elephant in the room on this one is the last book, Dan Abnett's Pandemonium. We've been waiting for this for years. Apparently, Dan Abnett said it's finished. He's given it to Games Workshop, and it's just up to Games Workshop now to release it and decide what they want to do with this story. Why is this such a big talking point? Because Dan Abnett had said in an interview that this story was absolutely massive. It's going to be huge in terms of lore when it comes to Warhammer 40,000. And I'm thinking maybe it's attached to something to do with the Emperor of Mankind, because where we got left off with the previous book, Pennant, for the Beckwin series, is that it got revealed that the King in Yellow was none other than Constantine Valdor. Constantine Valdor was one of the closest advisors to the Emperor. The Emperor literally marched his army across Terra during the Unification Wars, nearly wiping out his army just to get Constantine Valdor. So what is Constantine Valdor doing? Why is he building this secret army in the world between worlds? Is he trying to set the Emperor free, to help the Emperor? We don't know, but there's just too many connections here that make my head hurt. Now, one of the biggest pieces of evidence that we actively see the Emperor reawakening and taking part in the current narrative events is through Dark Imperium. This is Guy Haley's series that follows Guilliman fighting the Death Guard and Mortarion. We see influences of the Emperor maybe possessing certain beings and fighting against Nurgle and the Death Guard, but the biggest indication we have is when Guilliman fights Mortarion. During the climax of the Plague Wars, Guilliman battles Mortarion on Ajax, and Mortarion infects him with something called Godblight. This is a horrific plague which is designed to actually kill a Primarch. Now, when Guilliman technically dies, at that moment, something immense moves through the warp. The Emperor reaches out across the galaxy, and through Nurgle's own realm, Guilliman's body is restored, and for a brief period the Emperor appears to speak and act through Guilliman. Guilliman has then become a vessel for the Emperor, and then he speaks and addresses Mortarion. He says to Mortarion, "You are a traitor. Perhaps one day you might be saved." So there's definitely evidence out there of the Emperor getting more involved in the current 40k narrative. Now, I just want to quickly flip that coin on its head and look at it from the other side, because there is a lot of counter arguments to this. This CGI trailer from a lot of people is just showing off the grim darkness of Warhammer 40,000. What we see the Emperor as is what other people may imagine the Emperor as, what people think the Emperor is. It's just different things we see. Is the Emperor even on the Golden Throne? Maybe it's empty. Maybe it's always been empty, and the 10,000 psychers a day are the only thing that's keeping this throne going. Maybe that is the case. That would truly be the grimdark of grimdark. We no longer have an Emperor. We just have nothing to hope for in the grim far future. I personally believe that the Emperor is awakening in some type of format, and I also believe the mirror of that awakening is the Primarchs returning to the galaxy. Not only the traitors, but the loyalists as well. In the Lion book, we see some references to the Emperor with the lion awakening, which I think mirrors that awakening. The lion getting the shield off the Emperor. Guilliman, of course, having an audience with the Emperor when he awakes and makes his way back to Terra. There's a lot of big things going on right now in the 40k narrative. Yes, sometimes it's very, very confusing to follow, but I do believe this is going to be going somewhere on that story road. Where it takes us, I have absolutely no idea. All I'll say at the end of the video is that eye moved. That eye is alive, and he's watching us, brothers. He's watching us fight in his glorious name. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. If you've got any thoughts, feedback, anything like that, post it down below. I'm going to have a nice little chin wag down there, as we always do. See ya. Have a great night. And remember, for the Emperor, brothers.